Hi, hello, namaste. Very good morning, rather good afternoon, all the way from Hyderabad. Me, your host, hosting the eighth episode of season two of XENA Star Salon, a stat show with the stars of different professions, the stars of various lines of work. They are celebrities in their own way. They have their own hiatus in the society, and they've earmarked a special career for themselves, creating a path and a vision for the next generation. Today, a person who has created a path and vision and a mission for the next generation. We have a gentleman from the pink city of Jaipur, lived there, but studied somewhere, worked somewhere, and now living somewhere else. Very a mysterious life way for me, but yet has excelled in his line of profession and excelled to be and now a great startup investor and in the ecosystem of the startup ecosystem of India. Let's welcome Bharat Moossaddee ji. Hello, Bharat ji.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Kapil ji.
Good morning, sir. So, yeah, it's late morning. Sunday is always the late mornings.
Great to be in this session with you, Kapil ji.
Thank you.
I've heard so
Thank
much
you.
about you. So now, I'm kind of live in the show with you. It's really a privilege.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, last time, my apologies, could not schedule the talk, but I think the best things are to be waited for. So,
Yeah. So now actually we are having the show in the post election or the post result session. So it's even more
right.
exciting.
More exciting time, and no. First of all, it scares me a bit to talk to intellectuals like you because I'm not one. People have excelled in I'm a creator, so I'm a speaker, maybe I get to host programs, so you guys are abundant with lots of information and industrial information, and with person of such excellence like you, will always I like to take a backseat, but I would like to know more about your life and journey to the audience as well for this chat show, the eighth episode. um, how did it all began, sir? You were born in Jaipur, uh,
No, I
small
was
city.
born in Calcutta, so that adds to
Oh,
the another dimension. So I was
oh
born in
wow.
Calcutta.
All right.
So we are the typical Calcutta Marwadis you must have heard.
Right.
And in the mid 60s, there was a big Naxalite movement in Bengal in Calcutta, and that's the time when my dad decided to kind of move out of Bengal and Calcutta, where we
So
were
most
there
of the
for the
industries from industrialists and the financiers moved away from Calcutta to other parts of the country.
yeah. So my dad was a hardcore businessman, so he said we are at risk in Bengal, so move to our native and core place, that is Rajasthan. So what better place than the pink city of Jaipur? So I
Okay.
moved over there when I was just about maybe 3 years old, just beginning to start school.
All
So
right.
so I did my schooling and college and CA, everything from there. So very good memories, and that's why my school friends, college friends, most of the friends I have are from Jaipur. So Jaipur
Okay.
is a very special place for me.
Tell me your memories about Jaipur for the audience. You know, it's the Maharaja's place, as we call it. You know, all the Maharajas, the whole resplendent of Rajasthan, about identifying itself as very colorful, very vibrant, very cultural, very Indian. You know, you must have grown up with a lot of good memories from there.
Yeah, very good memories, and coming from a business family, I would say that this current or the life which I kind of lived over the last 60 years is by accident. So you can say that, and the accident started comparatively early in my I won't say career, early in my school days. So I was reasonably good in studies, but not not like a intellectual. And as you said, intellectual also, if you can call me, if at all, it's also by accident. So my dad, a very much a family person, and studies were not a very high priority in our family. So I was also okay, living Jaipur life, and studies mein theek thak. And then, my dad used to have frequent trips to Calcutta, and, used to take along all of us also along. And what happened was, some very important exams in the school we missed, and that was least bothered about it. So the principal of the school, he took once okay, it was okay, twice it happened. He took a very strong exception, and for the exams I we missed, he gave me a big zero. And
Right.
with the result, and he told me that, because you have got zero in these exams, unless you catch up in some other exam, which is almost next to impossible, you will repeat this class. He told this.
I'm listening. So you did see the failures, did you?
Yeah,
You did see the failures.
yeah. So it was a very big kind of challenge for me, and it was a kind of a risk also for me. And somehow, it was a jolt in a way. And then I decided, that I cannot be called a repeater in the class. So basically, I should kind of buck up. So I kind of studied very, very hard, just to kind of make sure that I can go to the next class. And that's where the kind of, the
The interest
studious
towards
thing
education
in me
began.
kind of developed. And when and somehow my dad also realized that he's kind of, is fond of studies and all. In 1 year he didn't kind of took me along to Calcutta, and there were not major distractions from a family side. So, and with the extra effort which I had made and carried that momentum through, so I kind of excelled in the next year. So I would call it accident. It was not kind of my normal kind of a thing. And once it happened, then of course everyone said, "Oh, you are the topper." So there was that additional pressure to perform, and and the journey started, so to say. So that's why I call it as an accident. Maybe if those kind of things wouldn't have happened, I would have been an average student and maybe a businessman like my dad, or maybe an industrialist or something. It would have been a very different journey.
Maybe
But
we wouldn't have been speaking to you now. Maybe we
sorry,
wouldn't have, maybe we wouldn't have been speaking to you now. The
yeah,
whole
yeah. Or you
the
might have
whole
been
connecting
speaking
the
to me
dots
as
and
a jeweler of a pink city or something, like in a very different capacity.
so when did you get to IIM Ahmedabad, a prestigious institution, to do your
So,
administration?
again, coming from a business family, my dad said, or in fact, we discussed in the family, let's do CA. So I did CA and completed CA like very early, 84. I was hardly 21 around at that time. So I said, I still have time at my disposal.
Oh, you're very young
So
when you finished your CA. Quite rare, a rare accomplishment.
yeah, yeah. So, did it pretty fast. Because I said, that thing was at a kind of a momentum. So I
Hmm.
appeared for this CAT, and 1984 went into IIM. And that time there were not too many people with the CA combination. CA and MBA was a rarity. So people said, you have already done CA. Why are you coming to Ahmedabad? So, but I said, just like, I just want to do it. And 2 years in Ahmedabad was very interesting. Since I had a CA on my side, I said, I have to do something beyond that. And as we had that unfortunate incident where Indira Gandhi passed away. We were at
Oh
the
yeah,
campus,
then I
and
want to ask this whole question. The 84 was a very tough time for India. It was the transition of a lot of revolutions up in the north and a lot of
Mhm.
disturbances too that was happening in the country. Talk us through the whole economic situation because maybe I was a very toddler that time. I'm not that
Mhm.
old. So how easy or how tough was it for people like you to who were just trying to make their career different? Like maybe that this generation can identify with that of recession that in 2008, which happened,
Mhm.
and people have lost their jobs, or maybe the Y2K revolution in 2000, people have lost their jobs, and of course here in Telangana, you have seen about 7 years of whole revolution, 2008, 9 till the 14, 15 time. People were very tentative here in Hyderabad city in terms
Mhm.
of and jobs and all those stuff. So how easy was it, or how tough was it during that phase of your life in 1984 when the whole the whole country was shaken with the death of the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi,
Yeah,
and
yeah. So,
the
so that time, it was like almost like, I mean, you can relate to what Modi is currently to India. Indira was at that time all
they used to
exactly the
say that
same. In fact, even
India is
so
Indira
more
and
so.
India. There was a saying called Indira is India and Indira is
And that
India.
was truly, I mean, though there were criticism of that, but it was truly like that. And people thought that the country will kind of collapse and, things will. And of course, there was a massive, that Sikh kind of a massive. I mean, although a lot of unfortunate things happened. And this Indira Gandhi massacre was also, there was this Operation Blue Star. That time also, I remember we were in Ahmedabad. We had seen on the TV the entire Operation Blue Star. Very unfortunate thing, the Punjab uprising, the Kashmir. So it was a very tough period, and somehow we thought that India would kind of collapse.
So that
And
was the
of
general
course, in
feeling
the
of people.
yeah,
That was
sorry,
general feeling of, that was general feeling of people back then.
yes, yes, and a lot of people, in fact, in our batch, were thinking that after doing this, because of course IMA has a global reputation, and a lot of people did move out also, and people were contemplating that it is better to leave the country. But I, being the only son of my parent, and as I said, came from a business family, that was a strict no-no from my parents' side. That you can do whatever you want to do. You move out anywhere in India, but in India, don't
Right,
leave the shores of India.
right.
So and so that was a kind of a gospel for me, that that I have to be in India. But as Rajiv Gandhi came in, and initially nobody took him seriously. He did his own things. But one of the things he touched on, because of his exposure to the West, I would say, is this IT revolution. And he had Sam Pitroda as his advisor, and they thought that a lot of politics was very new to him, and a lot of maybe other stuff also, maybe economy also was new to him. So he spent, again, as I said, I spent a disproportionate amount of time in IT, but he spent a lot of resources and time and money in IT side. And IT revolution started in for the first time in India, so to say. That was in
Right.
84. And I am being the prestigious institution, we took the lead. We means the institution took the lead in the area of IT.
So if you
And
talk about leadership in IT, what do you say? You talk about connecting the whole ecosystem of the organization with computers and with the LAN and the WAN networks, which was very naive and which was people didn't know much about it. So
yeah,
uh,
there was no LAN or WAN at that time. It was very early days. In fact, first time we saw desktop was in our second year. So, earlier there was those big mainframes, very, very big mainframe, almost at the size of the building. In fact, the
oh,
first computer which I've witnessed in IM itself, where it was almost the size of a building, and there was a small terminal, and where we used to sit, and we used to insert the data processing cards. And I mean, it was very different kind of a thing.
oh, really?
So, so
Oh
the
wow.
first time we kind of came to a desktop was in the second year, and I developed a lot of skills. But as I said, LAN WAN much came in much later. But those were
Right.
like database, Excel, what we call it. I mean, Word document, PowerPoint, those kind of things were very new. So when I joined my first organization, I said, where is the computer? Where is this software and all that? So they said, we don't have anything. I mean, everything was manual. In fact, I remember my first budget I prepared was absolutely with a pen and paper,
Okay.
the financial budget for the company. So I said, no, 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 I cannot work with this. I need to have an Excel spreadsheet and all. So the management listened to me, and we bought in a number of desktops. Laptop was far, far away. I mean, the technology had not come. So we kind of started that computer revolution, in fact, in my company. And our chairman, of the company, Mr. CK Birla, you might have heard, is one of the one of the Birla group. He's the chairman of the entire group. So
Right.
he was very happy, and he kind of he really kind of appreciated me for that. And that's where my career and my journey started, to this entire world of finance and IT and
So
what.
once, so you the whole transition that happened across from getting into the IT from '84 as Rajiv Gandhi took the leadership, and then in the 1991 when the economic globalization, liberalization, and privatization happened. I'm sure you must have already seen three phases of three prime ministerial works. One that of Indra, one that of Rajiv Gandhi, and one that of PV Narasimha Rao. The whole economic liberalization, globalization, privatization, and that's where you got to the Mahindras as well, one of those companies which are pioneered now, which makes great motor machines, and you ended up in the roles that you make. What was the transition change in industry or the whole process of it? Because you have been in the top positions of the organizations. Was public policy initiatives of meeting, and because any industry works well with the public policies only, you have to have the good governance attachment, you must have a credible reach with the bureaucracy. Was bureaucracy much easier during 91 to 96?
Yeah, there were a lot of changes, but I must say it was still bureaucratic. I used to deal a lot with the government, but you could see like it was like a fresh air, could, because I used to deal with the government even before 91, and it was so bureaucratic that this kind of a period, could see a lot of fresh air, and it was really kind of, and in the area of finance also, there was a lot of liberalization. And in fact, very interestingly, you talked of Narasimha Rao and Manmohan Singh with 91. So I would say that, 91, when this liberalization happened, Mahindra, of course, came much later. Means I joined Mahindra about 20 years after that. But this liberalization brought in a lot of multinationals into the company, into the country and into the economy. And
Right.
that's where I got attracted to these multinationals.
All right.
Basically, because again, multinationals brought in a very fresh wave of energy. They were looking for youngsters. They were offering much higher salaries. To be candid,
Right.
the salaries multinationals were almost 2 to 3 times the salaries. But later on, of course, the Indian sector also caught up. But initially, there was no comparison. I mean, they would give a offer letter of almost, I mean, twice or thrice the salary. So, I
Oh.
mean,
So was the during that again the same time you also had witnessed the scam in the stock markets as well, right? So the Harshad Mehta scam, as you call it, and then of course there was the whole religious incident that happened. Did it affect the whole cash flow or inflow of the investments coming to India to FDI or FII, or did the corporates back off because of the conditions within India back then?
yeah, the scam happened and it was a shocker for all of us because the economy, as a result of liberalization, was doing pretty well. The liberalization started in 91. So I remember scams happened in 94. So 3 years we had a very good run, and we were just kind of, it was coasting along very smoothly. And then suddenly the scam happened. But the scam actually, it impacted, fortunately, I would say, fortunately, partly, and fortunately, maybe thanks to Manmohan Singh and Narasimha Rao, it got limited only to the financial sector. It really didn't impact the entire economy. It didn't impact the manufacturing sector, or for that matter, even the services sector, the agriculture, the three big sectors of the economy, except the financial sector, it didn't really impact. And I was
Right.
mostly the manufacturing and the services sector.
Right.
So really didn't impact where I was working, my working domain personally. And as I said, I mean, it was kind of handled reasonably well. I mean, of course, there were downsides, there was a dip in confidence, but overall, the kind of the damage was very limited. And on one side of the thing, I think people who are in banks and the financial sector, it impacted them much more than it impacted the overall economy and people like us. So as I said, if I look at my career of
Yes.
If we look at my career overall, then those were the times when I spent years with multinational companies like General Motors, Royal Dutch Shell, and not just to kind of get a better salary, but also to kind of get a global exposure. I got a lot of global exposure. I got Asia Pacific exposure also. I got
So
Asia
just
Pacific.
allow you to just put your camera properly. So yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And now the whole 91 to 96 period, and then of course you have had the 96 to 99 was also a tough time with India, with several governments changing. The whole country was going through turmoil for 3 to 4 years until 2000. Even the Y2K also affected it, the whole diaspora, because the American ecosystem, which was already bonded with Indian diaspora, was also totally affected as such. But all these were all tough times, that the whole global economy or Indian economy went through as such. Did you ever in a whole wild world imagine that India would be a place of so much of prominence and so much of importance and so much of investments coming through from corporates? We are competing in race with China, India as the intellect hub, or the soft power, as they call it, and China's industrial evolution that in the Chinese government. What did you ever imagine while studying in IIM Ahmedabad that these things are taking fold?
Definitely not. In fact, I always thought that, because I said, a lot of my peers or a lot of my batchmates were headed outside of India. And I clearly thought that I'll be at a major disadvantage. Not only just a disadvantage, but a major one. Because as I said, I was kind of very clearly limited to India and was not going to move outside of India. So, I just thought that, okay, India is also progressing. We will see some kind of, I will go whatever the destiny takes me, but it would be nowhere compared to the people who had left for greener pastures like US, Europe, and all, But over the last, 40 years, so to say, things at various inflection points were there. So I won't kind of say a single inflection point. First, definitely was the 91. In fact, first was the Sam Pitroda revolution in 1985 itself, the IT revolution which happened, which is not talked about that much, but it was a fact because I've seen life before that also. So that was one inflection point. And there was another inflection point, which was the Manmohan Singh era of 91 to 96. Then I would say the next inflection point was the financial crisis globally, which again, in India was handled much better than it was handled globally. People talk about it not that much. But, that was the era when Manmohan Singh was the prime minister. And of course, people in the current dispensation want to forget about that era because some not so good things also happened. But in the UPA 1, I would say when this financial crisis happened, India was largely insulated from the financial crisis. And then that time also the confidence of the global investors in India increased. So these were some inflection points which helped us to kind of reach where maybe up to 2014. And after 2014, Modi came. And of course, I don't want to make it political, but the fact is in these last 10 years, we kind of unleashed the potential of the economy. And we really believed in ourselves that we can take on, economies like China. And, the global economies went through a recession. So what I'm saying is, frankly, as I said, a lot of things happened by accident. So if I look at my overall career and the journey of India also as economy, I would say that, India is where it is, thanks to the politicians we had all the way from 1984. In fact, credit has to go to Indira Gandhi also, some various things she did to 2024, there's 40 years. So we cannot undermine that, that, okay, the real journey has started in 2014 only. Had it not been for various, these, as I said, inflection points in the earlier 3 decades, we wouldn't have reached where, even to get to the point of 2014, when we took off as an Indian economy and became where we are in 2024 and poised to be the third biggest economy in the world. And of course, with that, and as I said, the career also kind of, from an Indian perspective itself, kind of, grew quite a lot. The Mahindra group, it was a very small one, I am sure, because when incidentally, when I was in Ahmedabad, Mr. Keshav Mahindra, who was the, chairman at that time of the Mahindra group, he was the chairman of IIM Ahmedabad also. But Mahindra group was considered reasonably small. So Mahindra group also grew, and somehow we kind of achieved this, where we are today. Today Mahindra group is, of course, at a very, I mean, it's a point where I would say it is one of the top five groups in the country. Maybe it's a bit of a bias because I worked there for almost a decade, but still, it also came a long way. So I said various things combined. The Indian economy grew, the Mahindra group grew, and my career also grew. So all were in the same direction, and actually, it all helped me to be in a position where I'm talking to you right now. As you said, otherwise we wouldn't be talking, today,
I can so identify with the conversation, so because I'm an 80s born person, so 80 and 90s always information was the king, and radio was always my first love, and television was my love, and newspapers. So I'd always some ardently understand the economic news from that time, and from the age of 8 or 9, I was always reading the economic news of India. I was quite understanding the whole economic understandings, just perspective of a inquisitive mind, the kind of person that I was, and trying to understand whole, and of course the training that my father has given me about understanding businesses and economy and politics together, and which run the whole country, the business, politics, and the upspringing of the industry as such. A fair awareness about industry, a fair awareness about business, fair awareness about economy, and the functional point of the politics as to how governance becomes a key element in decision making of the country, and the policies are issued, the orders are issued. I'm sure you have been in that whole race of dealing with all of these, the you call it the whole the juggernaut of it, the whole process of it, you know, and of course now when you see the whole journey that after your retirement from Mahindra as a financial officer, that you come to this new India, the India which is moved away from nascent stage of just handling the computer, and then the industrial evolution with industrial exposition and a lot of industrial jobs and super salaries, and then to the tech part of India. Uh, what is the transition that you have seen now, the complete technological India right now after 4 decades of your career?
Yeah, of course, it has come a long way, as I said, and as you rightly put it, both from a technology perspective and from a economy, as the wealth in the economy has increased. So overall, country has grown significantly. But the biggest thing which I see is that people now have the self belief, which we didn't have. Though I was from IMA, and people had the self belief that we'll become something in life, but that was largely कि India से बाहर जाएंगे. I mean, people didn't have that belief in the Indian economy. They had belief in themselves, but not in the economy or in the country. So now the people have the belief in themselves, in the country. And, in fact, I meet the youngsters in the various management institutes and technology institutes very often. It's like a passion. This is something which I never spoke about, but particularly last 10 years, whenever I get some free time as a part of my hobby, or you can say passion, I interact with absolute youngsters, people who are still studying in IIMs or IITs and all. And their mindset is so different, I mean, they have the kind of self-belief they have. And nobody wants to do a corporate career for 35, 36 years like I did. They say that, maximum we'll do it in 5, 10 years, and then we want to do something of our own. In fact, there are people who are more gutsy. They say we want to start from entrepreneurship itself. We don't want to go for a corporate job at all. So that is a major, major change, that self-belief in themselves and also in the economy. That's why they're thinking of entrepreneurship, startups, So the whole thing has changed, and it gives me so much of joy kind of interacting with those people. And also when they come to their job places, they become startup founders, entrepreneurs. I interact with them, I guide them, coach them, mentor them. I find the whole landscape has changed significantly.
So you see the young generation more taking up into enterprise, and now you're a part of the enterprise journey yourself. I know post retirement with the Mahindras, and that you took to the whole investment part of it, the whole ecosystem that you are running right now in the startup investment, startup ecosystems, investing in the startups, and you also developing some new startup for yourself. Um, the whole transition is very different, very different from the corporate work to that you've done to
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
whole.
couldn't have thought of it. I mean, forget about say 30, 40 years back. I wouldn't have even thought of it, maybe even 15 years back, I would say. So because all these developments are largely in the last 10 years. And I would say that the government has been a major catalyst. And it's not that the government is the sole reason. I think the government is a catalyst, and then the new generation plus the technology which has come, the internet, which is providing global exposure, to the new generation. They have done some courses from outside, some exchange programs. So with the result of various kind of things, that they think that they are nothing less than their peers in the Silicon Valley. Earlier, like Silicon Valley for us was a very distant dream, particularly for people like me who knew that they will never, that we will never cross the kind of the Indian shores permanently. I mean, not as a kind of for travel or something, but so from there, I mean, people have that confidence. I meet these people, and I mean, they say that I mean, today, okay, we are we got few lakhs in our pockets, but they aspire to kind of be say 1,000 crores in the 5 years, and maybe a unicorn in less than a decade. So I mean, amazing stuff. I wish I was born today. Not born today means I would have been like in a IMA in today's world. Then maybe I would have built a unicorn. But then I thought that I mean, why can't I build a unicorn right now? So that's why I started my own startup company. And I said, why should I have that kind of regret that, I am not part of the current generation. I'm from a generation 40 years back. So I kind of turned the clock back, and, I said, okay, I mean, I'm also now a startup entrepreneur, and, I aspire to build a unicorn.
So you have must have seen three to four different eras where people became rich. People became resourceful. One, that of the industrial era, where people build industries to become rich. They kind of source the product, and they have the labor working for them, and they produce the product, they export it or sell around the country. And also, too, you have seen the whole IT revolution, where people start building IT companies, to become rich. The two processes. And also we have seen the evolution as the present evolution of the startup evolution, or maybe I could talk about the IPO revolution that has happened, and people started investing in the stock markets and to become rich, the traders point of view, and they become millionaires or zillionaires and so forth on the investment part of it. Now this generation, particularly people seeking to become successful, rich and powerful, they want to be in the startup ecosystem. They want to build a startup. They want to still a product line, serve it to people, use technology, use the driving force of logistics, use the investment forces that are people are looking to invest on a particular product. There are a whole lot of accelerators, game, pitching happening all over in our city in Hyderabad, of course, and Bangalore and other parts of India as well. Do you? And of course, there's always this whole race about catching up with the West. The whole race about catching up with the West to compete with their whole technology, like how we get to talk on a technology platform like Zoom right now. We always had a platform like YouTube. We have a platform like Facebook or the social media platforms, or a number of platforms, zillions of platforms available right now, and the whole world is super connected with internet now. It's a driving force for all of us. Um, you do you find any gap in the Indian ecosystem Indian startup ecosystem now? Or do we have that potential to compete with the West or the Bay Areas or the Silicon Valley? You know, do we have it with
So,
us?
so we do have the potential. And the reason why I'm saying is, one is, of course, the big entrepreneurial mindset, which I think Indians always had, but somehow it was not unleashed, which has been unleashed in the last 10 years. Particularly the young generation and even people in the corporates today are thinking that, leave the job and go for entrepreneurship. So one clear area is the very significant shift in the mindset. Secondly, a very large domestic market. This large domestic market has been again unleashed thanks to the development on the rural economy and the connectivities and the e-commerce, where everyone holding a smartphone today is a customer. So the economy has been unleashed like never before. And these are the two things. And of course, the financial revolution, also fintech revolution, I would say. So, I'm sure you coming from the technology world or the technology capital of India, the Indians today, India is one of the largest users of fintech, particularly systems like UPI and all. We have left even China far behind. So all that has unleashed a tremendous marketplace in India, tremendous e-commerce potential, and of course, government giving incentives for now manufacturing. If it all gets linked up way from the manufacturing to the services sector, all the way to e-commerce to such a big market, the potential clearly is there, and India is living up to the potential. And in terms of the gap, what you are saying, the biggest gap is the artificial intelligence. May sound a bit this thing, but there I would kind of minor kind of a digression that in fact I have a son who's a data scientist, and he's a data scientist based out of Dublin, Ireland, which is
Okay.
today in some ways outside of US, it's the kind of a data science capital of the world.
Right.
Particularly in the areas of data science and data analytics. So he says, "Daddy, India is nowhere compared to where Ireland and because I often tell him that you come to India and whatever you are
Right.
doing over there, he works with the world's largest gaming company,
Okay.
$20 billion company, and is a data scientist over there, and doing various things on data science, data analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all. So he says the level of that artificial intelligence the West is having in India, it is not that deep. The technology is very superficial. So I was kind of taken aback. So we had some deeper conversation, and just
Yeah, please go
so
ahead.
so we had some deeper conversation, and he could explain to me that why he thinks so. So I think that is the next step which India has to take, is to have a that stop the brain drain from the IITs, where these super techies of the IITs, they go to the US and develop deep technologies. We need those deep technologies in India to kind of then compete with players like China and the US, and whatever that e-commerce base we have, to take the that full advantage by using deep technology, the real AI. We don't depend on the Western or the Chinese apps to drive our AI processes. We have our own patents on and own fundamental work on artificial intelligence. So that would propel Indian economy to the next level, where we would be truly competing with the likes of the US and with China.
So you have seen the whole 4 to 5 decades of your whole experience, enriching experience to that where we stand right now. And now, what are the five measurable startups that in grinding startup that you could see can make it big? They could crack the billion world, or they could be the unicorns. The concepts, maybe just to share to the audience, the startup concept.
The concepts are okay. I mean, one is, of course, on the fintech side. We have seen, companies like Paytm and all. I mean, reason I'm saying is that Paytm is a word which is common to almost everyone, right from auto rickshaw or a rickshaw driver to a pan wala, बोला मेरे को Paytm पे पैसा दे दीजिए. But in
Right.
spite of found the company not doing that great, but in initial days, but I would say maybe not Paytm, but any other fintech company, whichever way. I mean that is one area where India has clearly got the lead because the number of UPI, the mass it has, the volume it has, and if we take the technology deeper and develop the right management, management of it, right revenue model, right EBITDA model. I mean, fintech, a company like in this particular area, in the payments area, it can be a very big unicorn. Secondly is logistics. Logistics is one of the biggest cost in the Indian economy right now, in particularly coming from the manufacturing sector. So in supply chain, disproportionately high logistics cost in India compared to the economies of US and China. So there are several disruptive companies. I mean, I'm just using one or two names because I've interacted with them. They're just like this deliveries, DLH, DLHIVRY delivery. Then Porter. In fact, Porter was a company which we floated together in the Mahindra ecosystem. And now, of course, it's an independent company. So, I mean, these are intercity logistics. So, a lot of work has been done, but a lot of work needs to be done to bring this logistics cost down, bring logistics very easily accessible to a common man, which in a lot of ways it has been done. I mean, so in goods logistics, I mentioned about delivery, about porter, and similarly for people movement. I mean, we have the names like Ola. It's a known name already. So logistics is another area where India was lacking significantly. A lot of work done in the last 10 years, but still a lot needs to be done to bring the cost down and make it competitive, make it accessible. So fintech, logistics, then another area is EV, electric vehicle. Again, in the
Oh,
area of
wow. That's
electric
interesting.
vehicle is, Mahindra was one of the pioneers in electric vehicle. And though in the middle kind of a space, it ceded some kind of space to some newcomers, but that was because we were getting ready in our own way for the next launch. But now Mahindra is going to come and occupy this space like anything. An electric vehicle, because of challenges on the climate change, challenges on the fossil fuels, electric this vehicle and energy. Of course, energy is another thing which may not, because it requires huge investments. But I would say that, I mean, India, we have the kind of potential to take the leadership for the entire world and become the kind of, energy in the renewable energy space, the solar energy, the hydrogen energy. I mean, these are the areas where, India can just take the leadership to the next level. And of course, e-commerce and quick commerce are there. We have players like Zomato and Swiggy, but I think these are again very early days because they are trading on a very shallow technology. I mean, the market base is big, but the technology, they are not gone that much deeper, or for that matter, even companies like Flipkart and all. So,
Right.
uh, so these kind of companies, if they embrace deeper technology and AI in the true sense, I think we can really kind of take a significant jump and a significant share of the market on a global basis, not just the Indian market. Indian market itself is so big that a significant share in Indian market itself will catapult a lot of these companies into unicorn if they are not already a unicorn. But in the global space, I mean, we are saying that right now we are the likes of all these Flipkart and the kind of you can say Zomato, Swiggy and all. But we want the likes of Amazon. We want the likes of Apple. I mean, we should not be just happy saying that okay, we have got our own this
Right.
thing. We are nowhere
In
compared to
personal
the likes
interest,
of
I would like to
Tesla,
know, how do you see the entertainment market doing in the next 2 decades? The global entertainment
which
market.
is
Entertainment market,
the
cinema,
global entertainment.
television. Yes, yes.
it will be completely driven by things like artificial intelligence,
Right.
and it will be on our fingertips. It will come to the home. I think theaters and all will be there, but for people like of our generation, but the younger generation who want it much closer to their fingertips and to their closer to their home and closer to the restaurants where they go. So it will kind of come much closer, and there will be a significant play of artificial intelligence where you can have 3D images, where you can kind of integrate it with 3D, and as you said, this the visual, the artificial creating this, bring a 3D image of your friend and integrate it with some app and make sure that chatting with your friend real time live, without the person would be there. So there would be significant changes, and as I said, right now, okay, it's a wish list what I'm saying, that India should be there, but unless the developments happen in artificial deeper technology here in India. In fact, one of my very close friends is in IIT Delhi, and and he's in this area of obviously being in IIT, he has a much
Do you
closer
see that?
presence.
Do you see that whole lot of the five different things could be deep tech, AI, logistics. Then, of course, you added fintech and these kind
Electric
of
vehicle.
electric EVs, or the five deriving elements for the startup ecosystem, or the deriving economic system that could be pushing the whole Indian ecosystem or Indian economics in the next 2 decades. How significant should be a role of the deep minds of the young generation and people like you who are mentoring these kind of people? Because it's always supposed to be a mentor to any organization. And are the younger generation willing to take these kind of roles of people, like headmaster telling the students what to do rightly, righteously, and all these things?
Yeah, very interesting question, and I must be very frank on this. I was just, had kind of very lot of thoughts running in my mind whether I should give a, nice answer or whether I should give a very frank answer.
Be a
So
frank answer.
I have interacted with a lot of startups, founders of small companies, growth companies, slightly bigger companies, and I find that the role of the mentor, because we may say that we are in the driver's seat, but we are not actually. The people who are in the driver's seat are the founders. So
Right.
the role of the mentors would largely get defined by the mindset of the founders, and
Right.
our founders are very willing to take the advice and the guidance of the mentors, but on the harder areas like fundraising, cash flow, P&L, balance sheet. Unfortunately, it works well for me because finance is my core area. I say, मेरे को अपना balance sheet दिखाओ, अपना P&L दिखाओ, cash flow दिखाओ. And if they are not willing to share, then of course I say tata goodbye to them. But honestly, I mean, most of them, they understand that it is important, so they share, and then I kind of then I uh, kind of work with them accordingly. But in terms of the softer areas like corporate governance and all, they are not willing to listen that much. In fact, even when I give some gyan on, not really a gyan, but like corporate governance, ethics and all. So I'm not saying they're unethical, but I said you do the thing the proper way, even if it takes a long route. But they would say, no, 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 we want a shorter cut because we want to be 1,000 crore company in next 3 years. And the route you are saying it will take us 5 years. So on the governance and on the softer side, they say that maybe we are old fashioned. I say that I mean, you need to kind of I mean, not just bother about your P&L. You should build the organization, employee retention. I mean, they are on that hiring and firing kind of a mode. So what I'm saying, on the softer side, there are things lacking, and where I mean, bottom line is that they do not listen to the mentors. And we have seen debacles, the most recent one, if one can call it a debacle, is this Baiju one. I mean, not really, but I mean, the
Right.
issues they faced, though I was not associated, so I have no kind of a strong reason to comment on that. But what I'm saying is had they listened to the people on the corporate governance side or on their mentors, I think they would have done their corporate governance better. They would have been in a much stronger valuation front and much stronger plane and a much stronger reputation than they are. In spite of all the hard work, all the good things, reputation got damaged because there were issues on corporate governance.
Oh, of course. So that again, corporate governance is a public policy, and corporate governance is a huge subject driven by experts. Somebody like you who had already been in industrial expertise to take it up. A great insight from you on the Sunday morning, and now it's the brunch or the lunchtime for everybody. Thank you for staying tuned on a great conversation with an expert from Industria himself, expert on manufacturing, expert on produce, expert on finances, expert in management, expert in startup and investments. Thank you, Bharat ji, for today's morning conversation on the 8th episode of XENA SalOn Chat Show with me, your host, Kapil Deev. I hope you had a great time. I hope the audience had a great information. We look forward to have you on some other time, on some other platform, with a deeper conversation about the 5 elements of the next generation.
And thank you, Kapil, for giving me this, this platform to kind of, give my views on such an interesting array of topics.
Right.
And thank you so much. It's been an honor interacting with you, and kind of the way you have helped me cover right from my school journey to my current, including bringing in my son as well. So, I think it is, I just couldn't have asked for anything more. So thank you so much, and it's thank you to you and to Rajiv also that, he provided me this opportunity. And I hope there'll be messages for the youngsters whom I have a lot of faith and regard. But as I said, these couple of gaps like artificial intelligence, corporate governance, if these gaps can be narrowed, may not be completely filled in, but if they are narrowed, I think the Indian economy would may go ahead even of by third biggest economy. We can be the biggest economy in the world.
Look forward to have this great Indian country doing well in the next 2 to 3 decades or for time. And as we call about 2047, celebrating 100 years of independence, we look forward to be the numeric country with people like you contributing. People like you always add the value to the ecosystem of the country and the economics of the country. Thank you all for joining on the Sunday morning of XENA SalOn with me, your host, Kapil Dev, along with my guest, Bharat ji, signing off and doing a namaste.
Thank you so much. Namaste ji. Namaste.